With political debates heating up across the country during this election year, not a day goes by that we don't hear about issues like the economy from all venues of media. But as Catholics, we are to look to our bishops for direction. Last year, the United States Council of Catholic Bishops formed an ad hoc committee on religious freedom. Disturbing trends have emerged that prove religious liberty is under attack in the very place it was born. Teri Breguet now brings us this special story.
Citing an increasing threat to religious liberty in America, Pope Benedict addressed U.S. bishops last Thursday, calling attention to, quote, the grave threats to the Church's public moral witness presented by a radical secularism. Informed by the bishops on specific dangers to American freedoms, the pontiff urged them to continue to participate in public debate at this critical time.
The threats, for example, would include the position taken by the Department of Justice against the ministerial exception, that is to say, the constitutionally guaranteed right of churches to select and manage their ministers, attempts by bureaucratic agencies of the government to force the church to cooperate in providing for abortion, abortifacients, sterilization, contraception, threats at the state level. Some Catholic charities have been driven out of foster care and adoption services. Individuals such as a county clerk up in New York State who refused to participate in a same-sex marriage ceremony have gotten into trouble.
Bishop Lori testified before the House Judiciary last October, and just last week in an important ruling, the Supreme Court decided in favor of the Church's right to manage their ministers, perhaps a joyful sign that protecting religious liberty is not a lost cause. But the fruits of a November meeting between President Obama and Cardinal-designate Timothy Dolan are yet to be seen. Substituting freedom of worship for the term freedom of religion, the administration has prompted increased concern among church officials. They believe that freedom of worship denotes a highly privatized understanding of religious liberty, one that discourages public expression. Catholics are often overwhelmed when it comes to the issue of church and state. But this so-called doctrine was actually established to protect the church from the state. Today it's being employed for the opposite purpose.
The church does not engage in partisan politics. We don't promote candidate A over candidate B or party A over party B. But when it comes to issues, religious liberty would indicate, if it's real, that the church has every right to be in the public square advocating for sound and just public policy.
In this climate of radical secularism, many say it is easy to forget how America's liberties were born.
Western culture, of course, is based upon, or was created by, I should say, by the church. People don't want to hear that. They simply don't. Even if you were a secularist or an atheist, if you were a historian or know the history of Europe, of the West, there's no way you can cut the Catholic Church out of that. I mean, you just can't teach anything from the first century up until today.
Religious liberty is the first of our liberties and the source of all the others. And as Pope Benedict recently stated, it's the first of our liberties not just because it was the first to be identified, but because it touches that which distinguishes human beings from the rest of creation, and that's our relationship with God. It is God who gave us freedom, not the state.
A longtime advocate for religious freedom warns what could happen if Americans don't wake up.
It could get to the point that we have to make the same kind of decisions people had to make in the earliest days of the church, where they were going to even risk their lives in the service of the truth of Jesus Christ. I hope that doesn't happen. It doesn't have to happen, but it could happen, and it's important for us to develop the same kind of strong faith that our ancestors had, and to be able to face even the risk of our lives in the service of the gospel, and not to be afraid.
Bishops are urging the laity to be vigilant. They should begin a serious conversation about religious liberty. Make others aware through social media. Be familiar with the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Church's teaching on this vital topic as they keep their elected officials accountable. For Real to Real, I'm Teri Breguet.
And in a disappointing turn of events, on Friday, the Department of Health and Human Services issued a statement refusing to expand the religious conscience exemptions under the new National Health Care Initiative, giving faith-based health care providers a year to determine how they will fulfill this ruling without violating their core beliefs and convictions. And stay tuned to Real in the coming weeks as Teri Breguet speaks with Archbishop Charles Chaput further about religious liberty in America.